Welcome back to the Morningscape podcast. Your host, DJ Mitchell, here with Matt Moody to go over the big new announcement. Everyone, waiting. It felt like it was just every single person in the world was waiting for drafters to release the NHL contest. Well, it's here today. They listened to my calls. Did they tweet about it? No, but that's because I'm checking just all day for you. We're going to talk about drafters. We're going to talk about some of Matt's fades. We're going to talk about the Underdog contest and some correlation notes that I wanted to get to here on the Morningscape podcast. I am just going to bring him in. I'm not going to do the whole intro song because I still haven't fixed that yet. Matt Moody from the Morningscape podcast. You're from formerly of Fantasy Insiders, formerly of what else? Sorry, I'm trying to do a good job here hosting.
I'm going to let you hang yourself on your own words rather than.
I'm missing one more. I know there's another.
You don't
one
know
that I guess
anything I've done. Formerly of XN Sports, the sports powerhouse.
That's the one. Oh, I mean Mayo Media Net too, and Fantasy Labs. Holy crap!
I did some Fantasy Lab stuff with
that's the one.
With our king of the ETR college football world, Sean Newsome. But yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. We were hinted drafters a couple weeks ago. I'm in Pennsylvania, so I can't play. And, obviously the contest is not huge or anything, so it's not actually that big of a deal. But it's at least something we can talk about. I do think there will be a pretty sizable edge because nobody has thought about this format before over on drafters. So applying even the smallest amount of thought should be useful. But no, go ahead, DJ.
Honestly, it's funny because I was gonna say I gave it like a couple minutes thoughts. I read through everything and I was like, I'm just gonna jump into a lobby and get going, and I'm sure it'll be fine. The people are probably super tethered to ADP. They're not, and it's good in that. It's good because someone took Bedard like 21st in this format, which seems we'll get to it, but people were jumping up the board to get players, not even like correlated or anything, just jumping up, taking whoever they wanted, except I thought no one would take defense, and I could just wait, and I queued up some guys, and it just didn't get there. But we'll go over all that as time goes on. So, do you want to pull up the fades list first? You want to go over your beehive and whatnot?
Yeah, sure. Sure. Let me just grab this link and throw it in our Discord because actually you didn't tweet the link, did you? Okay.
We're doing that right now.
In any case,
yeah.
Okay. Drop it in the Morningscape Pod Discord and tag at everyone if you can, just to make sure if that they catch the stragglers. But yeah, basically, if you didn't watch last week's show, and you're not in the Morningscape Pod Discord or following me on Twitter or anything, I did start a newsletter, basically hoping for once, maybe twice a week, just sort of write about my random thoughts. If you're in the Discord, you know that I spend a lot of time talking about random topics, and I figure I actually like to write. I actually kind of prefer writing. It just takes a lot of time, and I realized I'm spending way too much time these days just playing MLB The Show, and I'm not bad at it, but I'm also not good at it. It's what the hell's the point? So I'm like, let's just spend that time doing something I also enjoy, and that can generate content and generate eyeballs and sort of just continue to grow what we're doing here for the Morningscape Pod and everything DJ's doing and everything we've been involved with for the last handful of years. So it's called Primary Points. It's linked in the if you go to the Morningscape Pod podcast feed, if you go to the Discord in the announcements tab, you can find the link to it. And I have two written things out, one sort of covering Underdog strategy, roster construction, just a very specific thought on that in addition to the many things we've covered on this show. And then the one that I'm going to talk about to cap off this long sort of nonsense this path I'm on is I went through my top 50 ADP, my fades in that group. I also posted the full list of my top 100 ADP fades. This is as of, I think, Friday. So obviously ADP shifts around a little bit. But basically, it's very easy to talk about the players that I'm highest on. If you've watched me, if you've been in the Discord or anything, you probably know that I'm a big Shea Theodore stan, and he's my highest exposed player. But it's not very often we get to talk about the players that we're actively fading because it's I write a little bit about the mechanism behind it, but you just don't really see a lot of that because, you're making inherent choices to select a player. You're not necessarily going into a draft saying, "Oh, I'm not going to take this player." You kind of let the room do what it does, and things fall out naturally. While after 70 drafts, it's pretty easy to go back and see who is falling out naturally. And so I sort of reviewed that and wanted to sort of write some thoughts on those specific players. So what our plan is to basically go through it. I'll summarize what I wrote, and then I'm gonna just have DJ react to it. Maybe DJ can have his exposures pulled up and see if he's on the fade train with me, if he's over invested in this player, if he's matching the field. But basically, this is just sort of a cheap way to talk about players in a way that's not totally manufactured. So let's start sharing here. I need to move.
Yep. All tweeted, posted, all that good stuff.
Thank you for doing that while I filled the air. All right, let's see if I zoom in on the text. Blah blah blah. Gosh, how do people do this? Hey, what's up, Joey? Been a while since we heard from you.
Joey.
DJ, do you have a drafters referral link? Because obviously I don't.
Yeah, I think it's just I'll post it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's just literally DJ Sabres.
All right,
and then I think they were doing it, but it was just a deposit bonus match, and then this would just give you an additional $20. I believe I don't think they have anything else. But that, and yes, your promo code. Oh wait, send. Hold on, and stage. I don't know. I mean, they were given a deposit bonus up to I think it was 300. But so just double check that. But you didn't need any additional code for it. But just double check on their site.
Yeah, I used DJ's
I know
code,
a friend just did this, and he got the deposit. Yeah, I had a friend that did it. He got the deposit bonus, and he got the $20. Like, it was no problem. Okay.
Yeah, honestly, if we get a bunch of people signing up for drafters with DJ's code in particular, he might actually have a little power, a little sway as far as shaping what the future looks like as far as drafters contests. We'll see what happens.
They followed me right away. Yeah, they followed me right away. Yeah. So I'm optimistic that they at least know what I do.
Yeah,
I think I got a favorite
DJ will
one
be
of the
our
guys over there on my post about it. So.
Yeah, he can be our elected representative, sort of all things drafters, best puck. But anyway, before we get into drafters, looking at Underdog and specifically covering the fades, I highly urge you to go through and read this article yourself if you have not. It is the newsletter is pinned on my Twitter profile at Fake Moods, so that's the easiest way to find it. But yeah, so I don't need to go through the genesis. You can see here the full list. I can zoom. Well, let's just skip the full list for now because they'll just probably generate too many questions. All right, so first up, Nathan MacKinnon. Through 69 drafts, yes, I picked a very nice time to filter out my fades. But through 69 drafts, I have 2 shares of Nathan MacKinnon. All these players that I'm going to mention, I have either 0, 1, or 2 shares of. So you'll see that. What's going on here is you see Nathan MacKinnon, he's a center. I have 2.9% of him, meaning 2 total drafts. And he's drafted as of last Friday at a 3.6 ADP. When I've selected him, my ADP for him has been 4.0, meaning I either got him at pick 3 and pick 5 or twice at pick 4, just sort of take the average there. And then I sort of summarized that in terms of an ADP value. The reason I did that is because I sort of wanted a quick way to tell, when I do take these players that I'm fading, am I getting value on them? Or am I, did I take them ahead of ADP, yet I'm still, light on them versus the field? That's sort of like the really bad place to be because, you don't have a lot of him. So if he goes off, you're screwed. And if you're getting bad ADP value when you do take him, even when he does go off, you're probably losing out to the field that's getting him, well after you got that said player. So here it's basically dead even. And Nate MacKinnon, his story is really simple. I think there's 3 reasons that he is at the back of the center top tier list. And I just haven't gotten many 4th overall picks. I've gotten pretty lucky to get a lot of Matthews. I've gotten a lot of late picks. Kucherov, guys like that pop up on my top exposures. It's not that I don't want to take McKinnon. It's just that I will take Matthews, McDavid, then Matthews, then Draisaitl over McKinnon. I'm slightly worried about McKinnon's health. He's slightly older than this batch of players. He also shoots a ton, but he doesn't score a ton. He's just not a good goal scorer. And when you consider the power play, the team he's on, Makar and Rantanen are going to be the main triggermen as far as goal scoring. So while it's super valuable, of course, to have Nathan McKinnon on your team, I just don't think that a guy who shoots like 10% on the power play versus these absolute otherworldly goal scoring snipers, I just don't think he has the upside to beat those three. I mean, I'm not worried really about the floor that he creates. So while I'm okay taking, Pasternak, Kachuk maybe ahead of him, I probably will just take him at 4 when I get the chance, but I'm not going to take him at 3. I'm not going to try and balance out my exposures for the reasons there. So DJ, what is your Nathan McKinnon exposure? Are you sort of with me in that he's the back of the top 4 centers, or do you feel differently?
He's by fourth of the 4. I do agree with that. I think he actually is. Let me just double check. Okay, I'm missing 3 teams. I think he's just 1 below the 2 of the 3. Hold on. Not give me. There he goes. McKinnon. McKinnon is 9%, 7 of 73. Matthews is my highest because he was going, just not at the top 4 to start the lobby. So the first 10 or so I did, I took him almost every time. I have him at 15%. McDavid, you're all thinking 100%, but actually it's tied with McKinnon. He is 7 of 73. So just about the right. And then Leon, I'm 10%, 8 of 10 or 8 of 70. So all pretty good, but it's not that I'm, actively doing that. I think it's just been, I've got a lot of 4s comparatively, or,
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep,
I got a lot of 4s.
Makes perfect sense. That's just, that's the way it falls sometimes. As people who are seeking McDavid, tend to know. All right, so the next guy up is Jason Robertson. The sort of main takeaway is that all these players that are going in the first round are outstanding fantasy players. I'm not trying to tell you that Jason Robertson's not good. He was a rock star last year. There's no getting around that. You can get really good correlations with him. Joe Pavelski goes in the hundreds sometimes. He goes very late in drafts. If you think he can keep up his performance the last couple of years. Miro Heiskanen, there's some chatter about him shooting more this season, but plot twist, I'll cover him in a later episode in the next newsletter, because I'm fading Miro for now as well. But really, I just have a bit of hesitancy to go in on Robertson and stacking Dallas because I love Rantanen and I love Kucherov, and I just think Kaprizov, when it comes down to it, I would rather click Kaprizov over Robertson. So I'm not planning to fade Robertson entirely. But I'm basically taking Kucherov over him based on current ADPs. And so he just sort of has been phased out. I've taken Robertson at pick 10 or, 11, 9, so on, so on. So I'm getting slight value versus the field on Robertson. So I feel okay about that. But how does the back of the first round shape out for you so far between Kucherov, Rantanen, Kaprizov, and Robertson here?
So I was shocked, and I think in one of the last ones I did, when kind of a lot of people in the Discord were all in it together, I actually, for the second time, I got Kaprizov, and that's not on purpose. Again, it's just been, I have drafted, I cannot really justify not taking Rantanen in there. I think I might try to spread the exposure a little bit more. I just think the upside in Colorado is really, really high. So I have quite a bit of Rantanen right now. I think that, the order should kind of continue to go as it is. 4 centers, Pasta, the Chuck. I have Rantanen just a little bit above sort of the next tier, which is that J-Rob, the Kaprizov. But I've just found myself getting quite a bit of Rantanen. It really isn't even that high. I honestly just haven't had a ton of almost any of them. I have a lot of Pasta, not a lot of Pasta, a lot of the Chuck. A ton of Matt the Chuck. I've gotten him to slip a couple picks. So anytime I'm drafting, I'm saying in that 6, 7, 8 spot, a lot at the chuck, way more than the rest, and then Rantanen. And then Kaprizov's kind of been the guy that goes before the chuck some of those lobbies, and it's just been kind of killing me. And then someone's asking about Brady, and it's just like again the finishing ability is sort of just like I'll let you continue.
Touch on Brady. I'll touch on Brady in a second. I just pulled up current ADP. Well, again, as of last Friday. But yeah, Mikko Rantanen really has risen above the rest of this crop here. Obviously, Jack Hughes is a slightly different conversation given he's a center. But yeah, Tkachuk certainly belongs in the conversation. I'm a bit lower on Tkachuk, but again, that's also a factor of getting Kucherov. He's just my click there. I think he's simply incredible. And I don't think he slows down this year. So in any case, we'll keep moving. But Cale Makar, this, I think we've covered this. It's really hard on Underdog to warrant elite defensemen because it's so easy to replace a portion of those points late in drafts for defensemen. There's just not a ton of separation because on Underdog, you get points for shots, you get points for blocks, and you get points for hits. While Makar separates based on his point production and his goal scoring, which is particularly elite for a defenseman, he's not going to separate at the D position the same way that a McDavid or even a Pasternak or Kucherov, the way I see things, could separate at their forward positions because the point production is just, because the fantasy point production is just so much more condensed based on the really high floors that these defensemen have. We've seen this borne out in the data the last 2 years. Of course, Makar dealt with injuries. So, it's tough to sort of, say, oh, well, this is a bad strategy. Just the way I see the mechanisms working out and the fact that you only need to score one defenseman per week, I'm happy to sort of take a slight loss at defense and try and chase a super big win at center or wing in the first 2 rounds. So I've taken Makar, I've gotten him a couple spots after even current ADP. And he's been sliding, he started in the, low teens and now he's in the mid teens in terms of ADP. And I imagine he'll continue to slide. But really the scoring or the reasoning isn't necessarily Cale Makar stinks. It's more just that it's really tough to entice me on a defenseman. So DJ, I'm pretty sure you agree with me outside of maybe Roman Josi, which is more of an Josi ADP thing prior to like where he sits now. So is that where you're at?
Yeah, nothing to argue with. Yeah, Josi was very much a holy crap, I got him in the 5th. And then it was holy crap, I'm still getting him in the 4th, and now it's can't get him in the 3rd. So yeah, it's changed. But I think those 2 defensemen are a bit above the rest of the class. But you can argue with Dahlin. Obviously you have to say Carlson's still in the mix a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of Makar, Josi, and then how much are you really losing? I think we've talked about this ad nauseum, but how much are you really losing if you take, I don't even know, Theodore is your guy, but you could say even Pietrangelo. You could talk about any of these guys and just be like, on a week-to-week basis, are you getting absolutely, shellacked by, and then those are, 10 or about eight rounds apart. But comparatively, you're talking about not taking Stutzel and you're talking about taking Toffoli. And it's I think there's just a much bigger gap, but I'll let you get to the next couple guys because I definitely see some of your points here, but this is where I think it's going to get a little bit stickier.
All right. So, so I grouped these 2 guys together because Mitch Marner and Timo are basically at identical ADPs. And when I pulled this up, this is just the Excel with the ADP. You can see it in B through D here. We see Mitch Marner, after Stützle, basically. We see Mitch Marner, Timo, and then the goalies start. Nestled in this range are Kyle Connor, Nylander. And those are sort of the 2 guys that, you can see here. I have 13% Connor and 16% Nylander. I believe that's gone up over the past couple drafts I've done, and I've not taken Timo yet. So, that has stayed 0. So just sort of framing the argument, I'm just far higher on Nylander and Kyle Connor than these 2 guys. And when I don't want to take Nylander or Connor, I really like to sort of have my pick of the goalie. I'm doing a little stuff to try and make sure that when I take Matthews, I have an even distribution of, Sorokin, Vassy, Shesterkin, if I can manage it. So I'm sort of doing some stuff on the back end, the massage that, and I just like having that choice. I don't think it's a bad pick, regardless of who I take. So like, there's just a lot of thoughts to go into this back of the second round, and basically Mitch Marner doesn't really fit the profile for me. It's like an okay stack with Matthews, but really he's just not going to put up like massive monster weeks all that often because of his lack of shot floor and the fact that he doesn't block shots really. So you're just giving up a lot, I think, versus Connor and Nylander in terms of week to week floor and in terms of week to week ceiling. Mitch Marner is an awesome player, and I'm happy to take him. But I just don't think that where he goes currently is where I'm really comfortable with it. So, I'll stop there because I'm pretty sure he's not the guy we're in a big disagreement on. DJ?
I first want you to guess my Nylander percentage first.
19%.
30.
30. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, you should have been in some of those early lobbies because he was going in like the 5th round. I was like taking so he is my 4th winger. He's only behind one. I mean, there's winger, goalie, winger for me. And 2 of them are very ADP dependent. One of them is a bit more of a maybe it's just me projecting. I'll get to it at the end. But yeah, I'm the lowest on Timo in this range. I have not a metric ton of Marner because everything you said I agree with. Although we saw this guy advance at an absolutely monster clip in the first puck. What the heck? Best puck. There it is. I almost called it the puck lock. My freaking brain's broken. But yeah, no, we know he did that because we went back to those like that 2 weeks and he had like 100 points. It was just, and like we know he can do that. It's not like he's undraftable, and I think that should be like very well put out there.
Yes.
That he certainly could have spike weeks without having a monster shooting floor or really any of those rates that you mentioned. The Timo one to me, I
haven't gotten the Timo yet. I haven't gotten. Okay, let's stop.
Marner.
Let's stop on Marner.
13%. And
wow, really?
I think that's a bit higher than I expected, honestly. But
yeah.
There's really like if you name any winger in that range, I feel like outside of Stützle, which has just been, I think, more of just how much Brady Stützle goes, and just a lot of lobbies. I think I'm pretty much overweight on most of them just because they weren't going as early as they are now. And they just continued to climb up the board. So getting in on those initial lobbies. I honestly think Brady is also, you have 2% Brady. So it just hasn't really clicked. And I kind of want to get more, but for a lot of the things you already said, I'm just a bit higher on Kucherov. I'm a bit higher on a lot of these other guys. And it could be wrong, but I am also, like I'm alluding to, a lot higher on a lot of other guys in this range.
Yeah, there's a lot we can do to sort of like figure out whether you're high on players because you got them super late, so on and so forth. So we'll do that in a future week for sure. But okay, so Marner I think is fine stacking with Matthews. If you click the link here, it takes you to the spot in the video that we sort of reviewed playoff level data that we were sort of expecting to see stacking to be like this super powerful thing come the playoffs, and we just didn't really find evidence of that. So like I'm not that worried about stacking Matthews with Mitch Marner, for example. I'm totally fine taking Nylander and just betting on the offense and sort of like, yeah, they might play together at 5-on-5. Who knows? Things can change. So it's just sort of like a secondary point. All right, Timo. I don't think Timo Meier's locked into a power play 1 job. They have the defensemen, like they're not rolling 5 forwards ever. They're just not doing that. So it's either Dougie, it's probably Dougie. It could be Luke Hughes. Not really relevant for this conversation. Jack Hughes is their guy. He's not leaving. I don't think that's a surprise. Nico Hischier, he takes the draws there. Jack Hughes does not play center on the power play. Nico Hischier is going to be on the top power play 100% of the time if he's healthy, in my book. So that leaves 2 more spots. Jesper Bratt just signed a very similar deal to the Jack Hughes, Timo sort of extensions that those guys received, and he played a really surprising, honestly, 199 power play minutes out of the 220. That's sort of the main nucleus I'm talking about played. So I know that he sort of fell off a bit toward the end of the season. Jesper Bratt did when Timo came into town, But man, Lindy Ruff is, very adamant about having Bratt on this top power play. I don't know that changes overnight. And so that leaves one spot. The last time we saw this team, Andre Palat was power play 1. I don't think that happens. I don't think he's going into the season, after aging another year, yada, yada. But, last year in the playoffs, Andre Palat in their final game was on the top power play. Timo was banged up, so on and so on. Dawson Mercer, everyone loves this guy. He is an awesome player. He produced last year. He's young. He's only going to get better. He's got pedigree. Okay, fine. Tyler Toffoli. They went out and got Tyler freaking Toffoli. I just don't know that we're basically projecting that Timo Meier is locked into a line 1 power play 1 job. I just don't think that's happening. I think it's more likely than not, but I don't know, 60% confidence, that's not nearly enough for me to take this guy in the first round. So Timo puts up great rates at 5-on-5, but he doesn't score. This guy sucks at putting the puck in the net. I love Timo Meier. He shoots below 10% every year. You can bet on it. Maybe this is the year and he spikes up to 15% and it doesn't matter what his role is. He scores a ton because he shoots a ton. But he will never be a guy who's beating goalies clean. I don't know how you sort of square the circle of him going 4 picks after Brady Tkachuk, who, if you're saying a guy with elite rate stats at 5-on-5, gets all the power play time he can manage, and jams puck like no other into the goalie. I think that's Timo's upside. His ceiling is 4 picks higher than he currently goes, and his floor is Victor Arvidsson. I'm not trying to disparage the name of Victor Arvidsson, but this is a guy who shoots a ton of 5-on-5, doesn't get super premium offensive minutes, and is very productive in the time that he has. The floor is so low on Timo Meier, I will not have any of him. I cannot sort of reconcile with myself how to get to him over these other guys in the range. So you can read more. There's more here, but man, that's basically my argument. So DJ, do you want to fight that, or are you in somewhat of agreement?
I agree with a little bit of it. I feel like you're lowering him a lot based on a projection that could be wrong. We have no reason to believe he's not on the top power play other than there's other guys and they're good. And
what do you mean?
They signed him to a huge deal. They traded for him. They had him on the top power play. So I don't know. I think he's. I mean, I don't really like.
I mean, he wasn't on the top power play last time we saw him. Yes, he was hurt.
He was hurt.
He literally got moved off the top unit. Sure.
It could happen.
He was playing second power play
again. I think there's just an unbelievably massive upside in Timo Meier, though, that you're just sort of ignoring because there is a floor that is. And I'm not saying I think Connor is better than him. Nylander is. It's right there. I think it's a little bit closer than maybe. I mean, the Timo hitting is pretty cool. That definitely helps boost his floor a little bit more than maybe you're saying. And just overall, I mean, the one thing last year that really hurt him was he just didn't have a lot of assists early on because he had no one to play with in San Jose. I think that number that really dipped year to year will go back up playing with top tier talent in New Jersey. I'm just not that nervous about him being a sub 750 underdog point score. I feel like you're saying he has to be to really just completely sink you. And I think the upside is, again, getting back to that 850 range he was just a couple of years ago. Again, there is a bottom out potential. He might be worse than Kyle Connor. I don't know if I'm dropping him too many tiers below. I'm not dropping him below Zach Hyman, who we're going to talk about next. I'm not, who am I dropping him below then? So yeah, I'm still going to be drafting him a fair bit. I think I'll be lower than the field because I will be taking Connor over him, and I will be lower on the field because I'm just never going to do the Jack Hughes Timo 1-2 turn type shit that a lot of people do.
Yeah, it takes a long time scrolling down ADP boards to find anyone with even a question of them being on the top power play unit for their team. So that's all I'll say. I'm pretty sure it's Evander Kane when I did this exercise as a guy when you scroll down ADP who's not going to be power play 1. And so that to me is really concerning with Timo, a guy who historically doesn't score a lot of goals. He shoots a ton, so he'll get his goals that way, but you're really betting on something we haven't seen for like that absolute smash season.
Yeah, this is only mainly a joke, but to brink it, but we don't have to go there. He'll be at the top power play probably, but
yeah, there's no chance that.
Okay,
yeah,
let's get to Roman.
I don't. Okay, yeah, Roman Yossi, I don't really have a lot. It makes sense, like, but I think honestly that if I'm trying to be high in Roman Yossi, I'm just going to lose to players like DJ that took him a lot in round 5 and got better forwards, to go with Roman Yossi. So, when you consider the fact that he's an elite defenseman and that I think I can backfill those points late, and the fact that he's right around these goalies I already mentioned, yeah, it's just a different ADP environment to draft him now than it was when DJ was getting a ton of him. So I don't even know that it's really worth the discussion. But just a guy that I'm not going to try and shore up my exposure to.
I have nothing.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, Zach Hyman. I have 2 shares. I've gotten him slightly after ADP when I do take him. And, I do think you can say Zach Hyman is locked into the top power play. It would take him being poor to sort of lose that job. It's just, it's sort of the main reason he was so effective last year to get to this ADP is not only they had the top power play job, because, honestly, Evander Kane will also play a lot in the power play with McDavid. It's just that McDavid doesn't leave the ice, so he's power play 1 and power play 2. The reason Hyman was so freaking good last year is because he spent nearly all of his time at 5-on-5 with these elite players. Now, I don't have the breakdown of like fantasy point production in these minutes, but I do think it's a very interesting story to tell, because we just saw a season in which the Edmonton Oilers flamed out in the playoffs because the Vegas Golden Knights absolutely exposed their lack of depth. Now, Vegas was a historically dominant team as far as their bottom 6 and, bottom D pairing and so on. But it really goes to show, like, what good is this Edmonton team if you can't trust them without McDavid on the ice? Because you cannot trust him with just Leon Draisaitl on the ice either. You can see that, anytime you pull up some 5-on-5 stats, you'll see that Leon Draisaitl is an absolute drag on his team. So honestly, I was pretty surprised that in 164 minutes, which isn't great, but it's pretty decent sample size, without Connor and without Draisaitl, Zach Hyman was pulling a 59% expected goal share. Now, I'm not saying this happens, but if Ryan McLeod is ready to take that next step forward and be their true number sort of middle 6 center of the future, it would be really, really hard pressed for me to think Woodcroft shouldn't at least try it. Will he? Probably not. But there's a world in which Zach Hyman is playing middle 6 minutes without Connor McDavid this season and makes his ADP an absolute joke right now. So that's sort of the main problem. It's just that I'm really refusing to take guys who I think are heavily reliant on their teammates for value. And just because I don't think we can project what the correlations will look like 6 months into the future. I understand why Hyman goes where he is, but I'm just not betting on the same sort of season as last year. And that's what you have to bet on if you are getting him, at a current ADP. So, I could talk about Dylan Holloway and, these guys that could possibly make the team and how I would use how I would deploy the Edmonton Oilers, but, you can read the piece to sort of get my full thoughts on that matter. So, DJ, how much Zach Hyman do you have in your builds?
Not as much as I'm guessing most people do. Sorry, I was just posting the original ADP for Yossi was 58. Kind of the point I was making. The first draft I remember I had him queued up and I was like, oh my god, please. And then of course Count MC. I'm trying to think of, is that what's
Mano in the chat?
Mano, it's Mano, yeah. Right? It's Mano. I was just like, oh, he got me. So I'm at 30% on Yossi. And then you wanted Hyman, which is 2%. I have 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're both with McDavid, and it's just sort of I don't want to have no exposure there, but I'd rather have, as I've made it pretty clear, Nylander.
I also have 2 shares, so we're in agreement. Okay. Connor Hellebuyck. This one is probably a spicy take, but really, this is more just so that I think the the goalies are kind of nicely tiered for us this season, in that there's like this elite tier that goes between rounds, late 2 and early 3. There's sort of like a lot of 6 or 7 guys. And then there's sort of, there's a couple stragglers in the middle, but then there's another group at like the 70 to 90-ish range where you're sort of getting a lot of these, goalies on potentially worse teams that still have that sort of number one with a bullet type mentality to them. And so when I'm fishing out of this first group, I kind of just want to be right about something when I'm drafting. I'm such a slave to positional allocation and to ADP. And it's just sort of like, okay, at some point I must think something, right? And so to me, it's sort of an acknowledgement that I think Hellebuck falls short in 2 areas relative to Shesterkin, Sorokin, Vasilevsky, Andre, Saros, Georgiev. Doesn't mean I think Hellebuck's bad. It's just that those guys, I think, are in better spots. So all of them play for really good teams, except for Sorokin and Saros. But I think that Sorokin and Saros play for teams that don't have as big of downside that's not already baked in as the Winnipeg Jets do. There is a chance that the Jets blow it up this season. There's a chance that Hellebuck gets traded. And guess what? If Hellebuck gets traded, he's probably not going to a team where he's going to see 60 starts or the equivalent, when you're using the rest of the season stats as a sort of proxy percentage, whatever. And so Hellebuck just falls short of that bar for me. And while, I'm willing to see instances in which he carries the Jets to the playoffs, Gabe Velarde's the real deal, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just perfectly okay saying, look, if he beats me, he beats me. But it helps me shore up my exposures to these other 6 guys who, all goes well. I'm hopefully over the field on come the end of draft season. So, it's a very tenuous fade for sure. But it's one that I'm fully comfortable with just because I think there's multiple outs that I feel are more likely than the field possibly does. So, DJ, Connor Hellebuck versus the other elite goalies.
Yeah, 4 of 73 of completed drafts on Hellebuck. I am lower than pretty much the most of them, but I also, I think all of the reasons that you said at the end there were like the upside is still he is the best goalie in the league, carries the team to the playoffs. They have, better output than we expect, yada, yada. Like, I don't think they got that much worse, but they could still blow it up. If it starts poorly, they could blow it up. So higher on Georgiev, higher on Ottinger, Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, and Sorokin, but he comes next to me, and Saros is right with him. So, I could go either way, but I kind of want a little bit of both.
I'm not signed in. I don't know what my password is for drafters. So the last 2 guys. Okay. The last 2 guys I have are Panarin and Fox. I feel like if you've listened to us, you know that we just aren't that high on guys who don't shoot a ton. Adam Fox really doesn't do much. The stat that I cherry picked was that Evan Bouchard basically goes at the same ADP as Adam Fox and had 4 power play goals in 12 playoff games in the spring. Very good future for Evan Bouchard on that power play. Adam Fox in his NHL career, 280 games played, he has 4 power play goals. So when you're talking about upside, when you're talking about winning the week in terms of playoffs, I just don't know that Adam Fox does that as much as Evan Bouchard does. I think Evan Bouchard offers more as far as week-to-week shot floor, and Adam Fox doesn't offer anything in the areas of hits or blocks. So, that's just sort of the main stance against Adam Fox. And then Panarin, he just goes in this glut of guys, Gaudreau, Fiala, Caulfield. I'm perfectly fine drafting Panarin. He's much cheaper than he was last season, but, it's not a priority by any means for me, which is why I'm pretty low on him. So that's it. Please do check out the newsletter and subscribe. There's 2 up there, and next week or later this week, there will be another piece finalizing the rest of the fades that I'm currently looking at. So DJ, why don't you take it away?
Yep, I'm 0% on Panarin and 0% on Fox at this point in time. So tough break. This stat would make Matt happy, and also I didn't even know this, but probably Wyatt Johnson and Leon had the same amount of 5-on-5 goals at 19. Adds up to me. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't have it.
That is impressive.
But it sounds about right because that is what Leon does. ADP is an artificial construct. Yeah. It's actually completely fabricated by the Backward Hat Pro Media. And then I was wondering if this would even work because I think there's no, I can't see it. I think there's actually like something here we can't see, but yeah, if you want to talk about the Flyers, yeah, I'd probably pass
Do we
on
have
assuming
to?
that they're going to be all that great this year. Oh yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I clicked the wrong button.
All right, so let's.
I'm just going to pull up the whole board.
Do you want to start a draft and then sort of go back into it after like 4 or 5 rounds, or do you just want to get this over with before we start the underdog draft?
Let's get this over with before we do the underdog draft. It's okay with you.
Okay. No, that's fine. I know we just go very long. So
yeah, this won't take. I don't think this will take that long. Yeah. We'll preview the reviews. That'll probably be best. Okay, so settings. Let me just pull up Drafters just being an absolute nightmare. I'm only showing this right now. I'm just trying to get all the other stuff to load, and it just refuses to load. Okay.
Get us set up. I will set the stage. Drafters, you can see there's 8 teams per draft. So not 12. There are 18 rounds per draft, so slightly more players on your roster. The season long format means that week 1 counts for just as much as far as the final payout as the final week of the season, versus an underdog, week 1 is important. It'll help you slightly make the playoffs. But it will ultimately matter far more how you do in the final week of the season as far as your underdog sort of payout, how much money you make on the season, as DJ can attest to. So this is very much so a different game. Scoring wise, your rosters each week. So again, there's 18 players on a team. You still score 1 goalie, so not much different there. But you score 3 forwards, not considering center wing, which is very nice given the struggles that Underdog seems to have with properly assigning positions. And you get 2 defensemen guaranteed have to go into your lineup each week for scoring, along with 2 additional flex spots. So it's a deeper scoring roster. And so that's a very interesting tweak here, a very interesting component of this format. So DJ, are you prepared to walk us through your draft?
Yeah. So yeah, 3 for a goal, 2 for an assist, half for a power play point, 2 for a shorthanded goal. I don't really know how much you can derive. I guess a little bump to Marner. I don't know. Shot on goal is 0.3, block shot 0.3, overtime goal is 1 for players, all skaters. We'll kind of look into that a little bit more. And then goalies, 2 for a win, 1 for an overtime or shootout loss, 0.2 for saves, -1 goal against, and 3 for a shutout. So when I went into this draft, I thought my first thing was going to be I probably was going to try to win goalie. Not that it's, I didn't really try to go too overboard, as you can maybe see a little bit here. Like I took Sorokin at kind of the time you take Sorokin. I thought that was probably correct. And then when Georgiev slipped past Olmark, and it was sort of like I kind of want him or Saros. I could have got Saros in the next round. Maybe I could have waited, but I was pretty content there. As you can see, I didn't draft any defensemen until Sergachev in round 11. And it was just sort of everyone I queued up just kept going. And it kind of felt like the run on defense as people, tried to fill out their rosters got ahead of me. But the ADPs didn't really correlate well to where these defensemen went. And I feel like I fell for it a bit. So definitely that would be my one mistake I definitely think I made there was waiting too long on defense. I was going to take Dahlin over Georgiev. That was the guy I had queued up. He goes 1 before me. I was planning on taking Yossi, or not Fox, but Yossi, where I ended up also taking Georgiev. But again, kind of made more sense. I didn't think he'd get back to me there. It was kind of hopeful thinking. But of course, as you can clearly see, I really was most interested in the highest rate shooters I could possibly get. I know someone in here, Tony, mentioned that he just caught Pastrnak and Kaprizov at his start. I'm fine with that kind of build because I still think you can get some very useful defenders to fill out those 2 spots later. But it definitely came at a cost because I sort of
had.
Yeah, he had the same start.
Yeah. This is funny.
That's what he said he started to. Yeah. So yeah, I think I made a mistake in not getting one of these premium defenders. That'll probably hurt me. I still think I'm probably in better shape than most of these teams. I think the best team overall that while I was drafting, I kept kind of being like, oh man, This guy, this Rish Pat, I don't know, Patel or Patel or whatever, but he didn't end up again, like the 4 goalie thing. I just don't really like any of his goalies nearly as much. Like I think I just destroyed him in net, but he drafted a lot of really, really good players. I think he had a really, really sound team. But you're not really competing against the teams in your room as much as you're competing to win the entire contest. You kind of mentioned that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Touched on that a little bit.
I mentioned.
Yeah. So just like, again, you're playing, you're not really like, it's a little bit different to where like, you don't, yeah, you got to beat all these guys, but you also got to beat like 1,000 other people too, all at once. Should have correlated more. I tried to a little bit, but at some point, I got Connor, I got Ehlers. Defense got away from me. I just kind of had to take guys. Like I just kind of got to the point where I was like, I can't, like I got to hit the best guy here. And I just ran out of forwards at a certain point. I got Spurgeon with Kaprizov, whatever. I was going to take Jersey, but I just decided like I'm probably better off with Matheson. Like it's not my best roster. It's 1 of 30. I have a lot of very big upside pieces, and I definitely won goalie comparatively to where I think this finishes up where goalies start to fly up the board a bit more. But I think you want to correlate more, and I think you want to get a couple of these premium defenders. As Matt mentioned, they're just going to be more useful in your rosters in this format because 2 are going to score every week, no matter what, at least.
Yeah, I ran through, so like I highly urge anyone with an athletic subscription to check out the tool that Dom and was it Shayna put out. Basically, you can customize the sheet a little bit for your draft and for your settings and so on and so forth, and it sort of creates like rankings that are specific to your draft. So I input Underdog scoring a couple weeks ago, and it's tough a bit with the positional allocations because they're not entirely correct. They're based on other sites and so on and so forth. So you can't do center wing, for instance, or like Adrian Kempe or someone like that could be wrong. Just so little things could be different. Anyway, when I put that in for Underdog and sorted it, Makar and Yossi, based on the projections, were the 16th, 17th ranked players on Underdog. Pretty much in line of where they go on Underdog. Very interesting. When I did the exact same thing, when I altered the settings, the team sizes, the roster sizes, who scores, so on and so forth, and the scoring, Makar jumps all the way up to number 9 on the list, and Yossi up to 12. And I think that's just a very that's a component of needing to score 2 defensemen per week. Having that separator at defense means that if other players are out there taking these floor-ish scores from defensemen that they get later on in the draft, you're gaining that much more because your advantage is amplified when you're adding an additional spot. If someone gets 1 spike week from a defenseman and you have 2 elite defensemen, you're sort of beating them even more than you are on Underdog. And sort of, it was nice to see the projections kind of agree with that mindset. And then similarly, because the rosters are much deeper, you're scoring quick math, 7 flex in a week, considering forwards and defensemen, versus just 5 because I can count. I think stacking is a bit more valuable on drafters. Now, the trade-off there is, of course, you're not worried about the 2-week sprint at the end of the season. But I think betting on an offense and getting that correlation within a team, because more of those players can score when your team smashes, is sort of a better way to go about things. So that's drafters. Please do check it out. Use DJ's code he put in the chat here, and I'll drop a link in the description of the podcast as well. So let's let this other lobby clear.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could fill it and just draft 2 teams. I really don't care. We can do that this time.
Okay.
That work?
Yep.
I'll draft 2. It'll be fun.
All right, you join first, man.
I just joined. It still says waiting. Oh, it's there. I'm 8th. I never get 8th, so I'm really not even that mad. Okay, let's fill another.
All right. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. What are you gonna do? Everyone, just fill the second one. No sense in waiting. We might as well draft 2 at the same time. Everyone's favorite hobby. Only 6. Only 6. Look at that. Everyone wants in, baby. Let's go. 5. Hurry up, Matt. Get in there if you're not already.
I'm already in. I'm already
Okay,
in.
yeah,
Don't
this
worry
is.
about me.
I can't actually posture like a little low. Matt the Chuck a little bit high. I'm really. I don't know why I'm so high on Jack Hughes. I was trying to go back through. I think I just was taking him at like the 9, 10, 11, 12, like where he's still at ADP wise, and now I'm kind of going back on that a little bit. I
Yeah,
think
we
I
need
took him a
4
lot
more
there
for
though.
the overflow.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna have to just stop sharing for 1 second though, because
Ooh.
I'm just on the wrong thing. I gotta share the entire window one so I can go back and forth. Yep, there we go.
Hell yeah, Scott. We won't. We won't.
Let's go, Scott. I mean, it's gonna be it is soft. Like it's gonna be like, I mean, there was a couple of guys, if you look back at those teams, like one guy took like Yossi and Swayman and was done. Like he just got absolutely crippled at goalie, which I don't understand with how big of a roster and how deep every single position is, other than goalie, it feels like, how you can kind of justify that strategy. But alas. So again, for anyone that's new or hasn't seen it, which I'd be shocked if you're new and you haven't seen the Brick Draft Caddy, but it's showing just. I didn't actually. I was going to try to add it back in because Brick once again told me he was going to update the. Well, he said he was going to. He didn't say actually he was going to update it this time. He said he wanted to get more into the hockey stuff. That's what he said. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. No, it's just funny because you were like, "Oh, you might have actually fixed it."
It's
only
my
4
headphones just
more.
died and I charged them entirely up to 100% before we started. So I'm starting to think something's like real wonky.
Oh, another fun one. And DJ can't even do anything about it because he's got to be on the clock here.
I
This is
can't
going to
hear
be
you right
another
now.
disaster
Why?
of a show. No, don't worry. I'm just talking to the chat. It's fine. Yeah, Scott, that is 30 spots entered. So there's only 1,000 total spots in this contest. It's it's relatively small. It's their first one. So I think this format and the scoring and everything is worth investing in. Now I can't, so take my advice for what it's worth. But I do think it's actually a really nice way to think about fantasy hockey. You're not worried about the positional nonsense of why is Adrian Kempe so much worse of a pick than Jared McCann, who were very similar last year. Those sort of positional things that go on. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like 3 drafts have run, of 8 teams plus probably Balabi has 6, 6 of 8 in waiting for the next draft. So it just launched today. Even I think it launched at like 3 or 4 o'clock. So that's not a huge surprise. Okay, we need 3 more on Underdog. DJ is about to be on the clock. Is he going to click Timo? Is he going to get his Timo? No. No, he has queued up Tim Stutzler. Come on, AB. Come on, AB. You got this. Take Timmy. Jimmy, come on. While DJ's off camera, let's see him tilt about having no Kyle Connor, of course. DJ gets what he wants. As always. Real professional enterprise we run over here at the Morning Skate podcast. DJ.
Wait, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh my God, why don't these work when you talk?
Oh boy. Oh boy. We got some more DJ related nonsense going on. Let's see. Anything interesting going on in the draft, DJs? And the white background is absolutely blinding me, so it's hard to look at. DJ, you can talk. we can hear you. You just can't hear us. So why don't you? I'm talking to myself, but it just seems like okay. We'll move on. Will the top 3 take TNT? Well, see if he swings around at the turn here. Why is DJ looking at his mic like it doesn't work when it's not the mic's problem? I don't know. Billy, I'm doing the best I can here. I don't have much to work with. I can't take over the screen to share some other nonsense of mine. We're just stuck here watching someone else draft, waiting for our draft to fill. Yeah, it's not great, but I will edit this out for the podcast version. Oh boy. I'd listen to a Moods solo pod. Well, boy, do I have to tell you something. Come the regular season, there are some days where DJ goes, hey, it's Tuesday night, or I guess, hey, it's Monday night, and I'm going to a concert. And I go, well, I could try and make friends in the industry, or I could just run a solo pod. And then I spend an hour taking notes, finding lines, going through Twitter, looking at the slate. And then I'll spend 45 minutes talking to myself about a daily fantasy slate. It is electric content, absolutely unbeatable. The best solo pod daily fantasy hockey podcast on the market, if you would, take that from me. So, yeah, subscribe and you'll get a lot more of this. So, yeah, any questions? Hey, anyone got questions? I mean, hell, we can do a true solo pod here. Ask me the dumbest questions you can think of while we wait for DJ, who is still drafting. Hey, you got to make sure that EV gets through. Hey, look at that. He's here.
Like, there's no words. Like, nothing else works other than these headphones once we get started. Like, no matter what I plug in, no other sound will come through anything.
Aren't they just going to die again?
Well, I'm doing one at a time again, so I'm going to keep swapping back and forth. Okay. I charged them before we started. Charged them. The charger works. The other charger didn't work on my phone. It didn't work on the headphones. It is broken. I don't understand. Didn't mess us up this time. Yeah, it's just it's the best. Everyone loves. I heard it make a noise. I'm like, that can't be possible. I listen to these things all day at work. Never have a problem once. Like, for some reason, like streaming, I don't understand why that would kill it faster.
Well, while you were dicking around, I fielded a couple questions here because I was soliciting solo pod questions.
Yeah, it basically was at that
point. So players not 100% drafted that could be the guy you need. This actually came up earlier because I was looking at Brock Nelson for some reason, and it turned out that what I was looking at was the original Best Puck Classic, so Best Puck Classic 1, 2021-2 season, and Brock Nelson in the quarterfinals of that playoff contest outscored Connor McDavid. Brock Nelson does not go in every draft. Brock Nelson is a very good player on a team with a power play that could honestly be pretty good. Matt Barzal, really good puck mover. Noah Dobson, really good offensive defenseman. I don't think their 5-on-5 game is much to write home about. But Bo Horvat obviously adds an element to that power play. I don't think he takes shots necessarily from Brock Nelson. So, I do kind of like Brock Nelson as the guy that we've seen it before. You technically needed him. He beat McDavid before in the playoffs. So that's a name that comes right to mind. Though I do think that the league winners could be more than likely to come through defensemen. Just because, we know that the elite centers and wingers are just so hard to catch. And so, a defenseman that could be league winners, I don't know about regular season. Justin Falk stands out to me, but I think he's up to 100% drafted now. So you're not really getting that element currently. And I'm not sure what his, first draft EDP was or anything like that. But he goes very late. A guy who is very much so of the could be nothing, but could be very, very good to me is Brant Clark, an LA Kings prospect actually alongside Jack Hughes. I know there was a message earlier in the day about Jack Hughes, the the latter, who is not the New Jersey Jack Hughes, and probably got drafted for lulz by someone. But anyway, LA Kings prospect, defenseman, and the Kings traded away Walker and Jersey. So there's a chance that he steps in. He's got obscene shot rates in juniors. So if he comes in as the offensive force that he could be, his question is footwork and skating and defense more than it is offense. So that's a guy who goes super late, never, not even close to 100% drafted, maybe 5% drafted, who honestly could be the guy you need if something happens to Drew Doughty. But yeah, that's that. Will Alex Killorn hit 60 points? I don't think so. I think he plays in the second line versus the top line, but we'll see. I don't know.
Did you see who? What's his name? Oh my God, the Rangers guy was talking about Wheeler going over 60 points. Had like this whole article about it.
Oh Lord, no.
Was it Larry? I keep thinking Lauzon. No, I keep thinking Lauzon, and that's not his last name. That's a defenseman. Oh my God. What is his name? Someone, please. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'll look it up in him. Actually, let me just go to Twitter.
Yeah, down to 4 people.
I will. Yeah, let me just look.
DJ, why is everything of yours on bright mode? This is obscene.
Dude, I need the brightness. Look at me, or else my background doesn't work. This guy, Johnny Lazarus. This guy. This guy. He posted, and I read the article because I was like, I wonder why he thinks that. Oh my God,
he doesn't.
Okay, I'm never. Oh, there it is. Blake Wheeler regular season. I think he can hit 60 points. And he used Jesse Pollock, a name that I could only say is I could use as a guy that I really don't enjoy following. I'm almost back on the clock here, so I don't want to get too carried away.
That's why people draft him.
But let's I wanted to actually thank him for his service.
Scott Ekblad's fine. Patrick Kane, I don't think plays this season, so I would stop drafting Patrick Kane. He's not even on the team yet, and we don't know how his injury recovery has gone. So I'm very worried about Kane playing. But yeah, I would not draft Patches all that often. I've taken him a couple times with Ovi, but I get it for sure, and hence why I've taken him a couple times. Ekblad, I think, is perfectly fine. He's probably going to be the McAvoy from last year, where he'll miss the first 3 to 4 weeks, but ideally your team is healthy going into the year, so you'll still have 2 guys to sort of wrap it up. And Ekblad is like a last round guy, so he's not going to kill you. All right.
Sorry. The reason is he's second line on daily faceoff and top power play. Oh,
yeah, that's just wrong. That is, it's just not happening.
This is messed up though.
Daily faceoff, we've learned in the Morningscape Pod Discord, they literally don't know anything about projecting. They hardly update the news anymore. Like they're just out here to try and get you to bet on shit like baseball. I don't understand it. It's been disappointing to see them fall off.
Like I'm just done. I'm done. This doesn't make sense all around kind of to me, but if you're telling me Blake Wheeler's on your top power play in New York, that is a big issue. There's really not a lot of meat to the bone here, but yeah. Yep, I think he's gonna have 63 points.
Yeah, that's
he offered a bet to one guy in the comments. It was like, I got the under. He like bet straight up, and I was like, wait, me too. But I was like, I will gladly take that. I don't think he touches 40 is what I said, and he just didn't answer me. I'm small potatoes though. But yeah, if you're gonna give me Blake Wheeler under 60 points, I will. Like they have what? They have Zegras for 67.5. They have I don't know. I could go on and on. But I might as well talk about what I've been doing here, which is going to be taking another goalie. The rankings I don't think are correct still, but I'm not even really sure anymore. I think Brick was very politely telling me that he didn't have time to fix everything right now in the nicest of ways, which again, that's fine. The percentages are really what I care about having the most. I do have Hedman in slow drafts. I think I have him in 2 right now going. so he's not going to be at 0 for long. Still haven't drafted Jesper Bratt. Still haven't drafted Huberdeau. I've considered it, maybe at least twice. But if you're joining and you miss my regularly scheduled headphones deciding to stop working, I don't even think they're dead. I don't really know what's going on. I started with Matt Tkachuk at 8. Like I said, for some reason, I just am gifted with getting Matt Tkachuk anytime he slips past ADP. I am way over the field on him. It's a good problem to have, I guess. But every draft, I think I'm in with like GA and other Wild fans, and they take Kaprizov and they just give me Matt Tkachuk. Stutzel, again, I'm really low on him. Normally he gets taken with the other Tkachuk, so maybe a bit of a unique combination. But I kind of wanted to get a little bit more. Someone listened to us, I'm pretty sure, into Connor before me. Yeah, Connor. Yeah. So I was, him, Timo. I was like, him or Nylander, like I kind of said, just who I had, and I'll take some Stutzel and get up on him. And then I haven't drafted much Stalin. That ADP is a bit too high for me. I'll take him a bit as he slips with Tuck. Just a fun little combo. I know it's missing that Tage Thompson, which is going to be very common with Tuck, but Sabres could be a bit unique with how their stack get there no matter what. But just because that top line could be otherworldly, but I'm totally fine with getting a couple two pairings in Buffalo. And I'm also Florida and Ottawa could be easily backstacked. And one thing, if you read my article, if you didn't read my article, I went into a lot of stuff we talk about on stream all the time as far as correlation is concerned. And I think we're finding, and Jay's actually doing some more work on this now about like the strong 2-man stacks that worked last year and like the 3-man stacks that worked or didn't work and stuff. But I'm pretty high on like get a few 2-man stacks, don't go crazy, maybe 2 or 3 2-man stacks and move on. And very seldomly grab a third in that mix. The perfect storm can happen. You have your Oilers, you have your Sabres, like I mentioned, maybe even Ottawa to an extent, where those teams could have unbelievable offensive production. But I'm not like making it a staple of my drafting to get all these huge stacks because I just don't think they're necessary. And I don't think they're going to contribute to high advancement rates. And I don't think they're going to contribute to the winning team as much as it kind of in theory makes sense they would. But over a 2-week span, I kind of think you're, you can hit the perfect 2, but the perfect 3 sounds a bit advantageous in these kind of contests to me. Any thoughts?
No, I think that's summarizing most of what we've discussed to this point already. So sounds right.
I'm up next on the clock. Scott makes a good point about Kane. And I ran the number and I posted it before, but Evander Kane was on pace for like almost 800 fantasy points in the Underdog scoring system without top power play time, etc. What?
Patrick Kane, follow the bouncing ball.
Oh, is it Patrick? Evander.
Yeah. Evander Kane is healthy.
Okay. I'm on the clock.
Evander Kane, there's no injury to worry about.
Well, he missed time last year. I don't know, but yeah, I wasn't really. I guess you're right. I'm gonna take JT
and also Evander Kane has
past ADP.
Evander Kane has a contract, which reading's hard though. It's fine.
I really wasn't reading everything,
or anything.
Speaking of injuries, what guys are dealing with injuries that are nothing that are mispriced? Well, what guys have injuries that are or don't have injuries that are mispriced because of potential?
We dealt with a few days of Jake Gensel being overpriced because we thought he was dead, and it turns out they're projecting him to miss like 5 games, and so it doesn't really matter. And that's baked into ADP currently, yada yada. I think the Montour thing is the most interesting because we just don't have a ton of detail on how long he misses, if he misses any time. But if he's like guaranteed 100% healthy and you're betting on I don't know why DJ's we're on. Oh God, we're on. Okay. Christ almighty. To finish that point though, Brandon Montour,
it's so easy.
100% healthy and Florida is good this year and not the dumpster fire that they were last year, that Brandon Montour will definitely beat his ADP. But there's just a lot of injury uncertainty. He could miss a month. He could miss 2 months. We're not really sure where he stands, but I'm on the side where he misses probably a month. Ekblad probably misses slightly longer than that. And they just got to survive until that point. So, all right, yeah, DJ gets
I
to
have to watch
101.
this. You're on the clock with the 101. Such a common thing I get on this watch. It's always telling me I'm on the clock at 101.
Yeah.
What a life I live.
Yeah,
What a life.
other injuries. I'll scroll through the board just to see if there's anyone. Oh, well, Svechnikov. Svechnikov is interesting. I think Svechnikov is currently overpriced based on based on where we're at. But we're still a month out. We haven't even gotten to camp yet, so we don't really have updates on these guys. But Svechnikov tore his ACL in March, I think, right before the playoffs, and he will be back, pretty soon after the season starts. But I do wonder about his efficiency and his effectiveness early on. We saw Tom Wilson, come back from the same injury last year, slightly older, very different player, but we sort of had the same concerns last year, and it tanked Wilson's ADP. Doesn't seem to have done much for Svechnikov, so I don't really have a ton of him, but I guess I have 3% if he didn't make, or 3 shares at least, if he didn't make my fades list. So, all right, I'm finally on the clock.
Where am I?
Wow, you absolute lunatics grabbed every single winger that left me with Jason Robertson at 12. Guess I'll do it. I'll take Robertson and I will take Ovi. So there we go. That's a fun one.
Yep.
Very nice.
There
Very nice.
Blows. Look at this range of winger that I'm high on all of them. Just all of them. It's so great. I don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, because you're taking no DKP, but he could be the guy you need. Okay, Mr. Elias Pettersson there. 0%
Pettersson. I think I know for a fact I took him in a 2 center build that I think's on its final round. I think it was a Matthews Pettersson. No, that's not right. I don't remember. It was something like that though. I have 1 2 center build going with him in it, so that will be coming around the mountain. All right, who will take who? We get the Pasta Timo. There goes Connor Rantanen. GA. I'm going to take a wild guess. There it is, Nylander. Okay, makes sense. Don't know if I know Josh Daniels.
I've seen him, but I'm not
I feel
sure.
Like I've seen him too. Yeah,
in our little space.
Yeah, it's gonna get interesting here at the turn. It's gonna get very interesting. Who will take who? This guy's Matthews, Leon. Okay. This is fun. This is good. What's going on in this draft? Okay, step back. I got 2 goalies. I like these 2 goalies. I like Darlene. Man, some slippage, if you will. Okay, so there goes Gensel. Boy, we have been cooked at winger. There goes Pettersson, Leon start. I'm very low on Igor, so I'm gonna go Igor and I'm gonna go Hyman before I get absolutely buried and get my 4th Hyman share. It'll be fun. No one should be sad about it at all.
We're all crying tears for Mr. 101 here.
We could take Quinn Hughes, but we're not going to. Who's there at winger? Yikes. You know what? Yeah, I'll take Billy Husso. Screw it. I'm just gonna get Coley over with now. I think Husso is gonna be pretty fine. Are you low on Husso? I feel like I've gotten your take on kind of this mid-range of goalie that I'm in on the other lobby with. Binnington, I know you're high on, but he's starting to jump, some of the better guys. But
yeah, I have starting at Husso. Okay. You may speak.
No,
Sorry.
I feel like we're 1 year removed from Billy Cuso being like a really highly touted prospect who was the best goalie in St. Louis, and praising Geiserman for going out and getting in Stevie Y, just like, oh my God, what a genius 4D chess move. And now it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm lower on Detroit than maybe most too, but like, I
Yeah, I
don't know.
mean, Huso's older than me, so he's not necessarily a prospect. I have
Yeah.
one share of Billy Huso. Obviously, I have 24% Bennington, and yeah, Bennington's not been in that ADP range the entire time, but I take him in that ADP range most of the time. And I've cooled on Bennington honestly as he's risen. But okay, I'm on the clock in our pod draft here, so I'll
Yeah.
finish that thought afterward. Look at that. The people leave me with Svechnikov as the faller past ADP. I will just take Connor Bedard here. Um, I love me some Connor Bedard, and I'll just try and keep boosting my exposure, and then I'll just get Philip Forsberg alongside it. So missing out on that goalie tier really stinks. That's the main reason I don't like getting the 11, 12 picks. I just feel like I can't get Georgiev or even Hellebuck as the break glass option. Um, but as far as Huso goes, after him, I have one share of Aiden Hill. I have 4 shares of John Gibson. I have 9 of Hart and Grubauer, 9 of Fitzmelka. So those are really the late goalies that I'm after, not necessarily Billy Huso. I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty for starts in Detroit. They have not only James Reimer, but they also have Alex Leon. Is that right?
Yeah, they picked up Alex Leon.
Yeah. So
I just think he's
just
going to be in the AHL though, but
yeah, you're probably right, but it's just like I don't think the team's gonna be all that great, and I think Count MC Mano and I are overdue for our monthly Red Wings argument, so I'll have to spurn that tomorrow.
yeah. I mean, like, would it be shocking if they made the playoffs? No, but I don't think they have the star power to quite put that together yet. So
I kind of think it would if they made the playoffs. I mean,
yeah, no, it would be more surprising than Buffalo and Ottawa, but I can at least check my bias at the door here a little bit and say I am biased. So yeah, no, it's possible too that like
they could make the playoffs and be the Islanders, where they're like cannon fodder,
yeah,
first round,
yeah.
that sort of where they're just like clutching and grabbing their way to the playoffs. But I just don't think they have the game breaking talent that you need to compete in the Atlantic at this point, with Toronto and Tampa still at full speed, and Florida presumably going to be much better than they were last year, closer to the Presidents' winning team of 2 years ago.
All right, so this guy
Got enough
I don't
Cole
really.
Caulfield.
I'm gonna get more right now, but
That's
we have
a
a
full
couple
fade of Chris
winghead
Kreider
bros.
is. Oh wait.
Not for long. Not for long. I don't like it. I don't like it
Oh
either.
wow.
And I'm gonna get him right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
I'm
you
gonna
go.
do it. I don't really want to. I could
Wait,
grab
whoa,
more
whoa, whoa,
teams,
whoa,
but
whoa, 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 whoa. Evan Bouchard. You have one share of Evan Bouchard.
he's going
You
too
have not
early.
told me you have not told me you are not an Evan Bouchard bro. This has
I am.
never
This is
come
too
up.
early. This is too early. This is way too early.
Absolutely not. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm like, his ADP is being propped up by McDavid and Draisaitl so much, and it's like I get it for the power play. Like he has definitely a very big peak week type potential. He's went above Dougie Hamilton though. Like I think it's time to maybe get
Yeah.
a reality check here a little bit. Like
Dougie Hamilton has Luke Hughes breathing down his neck.
oh crap on the
Evan
clock.
Bouchard has Darnell Nurse. Like we know what Darnell Nurse is. Like he's not taking the power play job away from him. So I don't know.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
I can't believe I
someone's
learned
getting
that about you today.
I hate it. I want more of him. I'm not. I mean, I could have done it here. This would have been the draft. Right around ADP. I could have grabbed him here. I just don't care as much about getting a correlation when I already have Hyman. And maybe if I didn't have Hyman, I may have just done it and said McDavid, Bouchard, whatever. I'm going to run that 2-man, but I'm going to wait on defense. I'm going to make sure I get Kreider, Caulfield, massive goal upside, rather than forcing in a guy that I think is just going a bit too early. Yeah, I know, and this is a good point. Bouchard's ADP keeps rising because of Big McDavid. And everyone's like, oh, look at this. He's right there. Correlation. Got it. And it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna win winger while you grab Bouchard and continue to rise his ADP above anything where I think it really should be.
Okay.
Like
Enjoy losing defense.
We're using one playoff example for why we're taking this guy before
We're
legitimate
using
40 goal scorers. At least.
Who's a legitimate 40 goal scorer?
Kreider had 50 like 2 years ago, didn't he?
And you have 0 shares of Chris Kreider. I'm not sure that's a good argument. Oh, his headphone died. Oh no, you panicked. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure. All right. Well, I'm about to be on the clock here. I have I have Bedard, Robertson, Ovi, and Philip Forsberg. Of course, there are a glut of centers at the top of my rankings because, of course, in a vacuum, I would prefer to have most of these guys. But pick 60, Patrick Laine's on the board. I will take a share of Miro Heiskanen and then Patrick Laine. And obviously Miro goes with my Jason Robertson selection. If I'm going to be low on someone when I do take them, obviously I want to capitalize on when that player is very good, or else I'm probably punting off my season. So when Robertson succeeds, Miro Heiskanen can certainly get there. There was specific to Miro Heiskanen saying that he's working on his shot. Now a lot of that could just be talk, but we've seen before players like Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby say, "Hey, we need to work on our shots more," and they follow that up with Rocket Richard caliber seasons. Not saying that Miro's going to go Evan Bouchard level or anything in terms of scoring goals, but he's an uber talented player, and really his main flaw is not that he is bad, it's that he wants to distribute the puck and he's more of the facilitator versus the Dahlin, where he's similarly talented, and Dahlin will hold the puck for an extra couple seconds, try and make a guy miss, and then have a high quality look from the high slot and can beat goalies. That's sort of the difference in their fantasy profile at this point. So a bet on Miro Heiskanen is basically a bet on that aspect of his game changing because he's got everything else in spades. He's a great player. He's on a great team, so on and so forth. So, okay. I love John Carlson, but John Carlson does not have anywhere close to the upside that Evan Bouchard has. I'm sorry. Like it's just, that's not, Evan Bouchard is a very, very prized prospect, and he's got an absolute rocket of a shot. Anyone knows that. He is glued to the top power play for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't know what else to say. He had 4 fucking power play goals in 12 games, like in the playoffs. Like that is the last time we saw them against the best teams. But what are they going to do on a Wednesday night in Arizona? I don't know. It's just sickening. He was awesome after they traded Tyson Barrie, and he can only get better. I mean, he's still young. Like Mattias Ekholm is great for him at 5-on-5. It's just perfect. His situation
I don't know. I'm ready for Darn. And oh my God, how is this happening?
The guy who can't even get his audio to work is trying to talk me off of Evan Bouchard Island. I will not stand for it. But I appreciate everyone doing me favors and lessening the exposures to these guys that I love in ADP boards. So,
well, I'm going to take healers, and I'm going to take none of these clowns. Definitely not. No. I'll take McKinney again. That'll be fun. McDavid, Hyman, Caulfield, Kreider, Ehlers, Konechny, and Shesterkin. I mean, that's just beautiful. I might end up with more Bouchard than I have. I just think he is way, 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 way above his ADP, like what it should be, just because of legitimately Connor McDavid on the Draisaitl drafters. It's just like, that's just not the way I'm going to play this. Where we just didn't know, Matt. We just didn't know. Can you say something quickly? I want to make sure my headphone. Yeah, it works. Perfect. That's great.
I'm here. I'm here.
I am going to, like, I had him plugged in. Like, no, I'm not going to get into it. My other lobby, by the way, for those audio listeners who are probably having just a joyous time, JT Miller, Kairu, Matt the Chuck, Stutzel, Alex Tuck, Valerie Nertushkin, Brian Rust, Rasmus Dahlin, Noah Dobson, Demko, Jari Huso. I am going to take Brock Besser to go with JT Miller here.
Ooh.
I think that correlation could be a thing.
That's fun.
You know, I do hope
I
so.
like
Yeah, so that'll give me my 2-6-2-3 build going. I don't think I won goalie, but I missed out on the main range, starting with Demko, and then kind of getting a little bit lucky, I think, with Jari a little bit before ADP. Just kind of grab those two to hopefully get a lot of starts. You could argue both teams are not the best, but a lot of starts there. And then Billy Huso, a bit of a bet. Like if Detroit's good, it's probably him. Lion could just be a flash in the pan. Is that the saying?
Yep.
Am I combining two sayings? That's the right thing.
Nope,
okay.
That's the right saying.
So
that's the right
we'll
saying.
See. I don't know why I had that. It just sounded like it wasn't real. You're almost on the clock in the other draft. You're still goalieless through 6 rounds.
I am.
At the turn of the seventh.
It's very hard, but
I would say you got a bit buried over the Avalanche, and they're going above ADP in that lobby for sure. Evan Bouchard didn't Jay post a whole article about why Bouchard was like a bad pick? Am I losing my mind?
Yeah, he said to take Miro Heiskanen over him, which is just insane. When someone projects Miro Heiskanen and Evan Bouchard for the same amount of goals, I have one thing to say to that person, and that is watch the fucking games. Just watch the games and tell me that makes sense. It doesn't. There's no reason for that to be a thing. Yeah, it's just.
I agree that I think Bouchard is very likely to score more goals, but I worry about I feel like the same argument we're kind of making against Brent Burns. I'm sure you already listened to my Hurricanes talk from today, right? Where it's like, oh boy, like a lot of chefs in the kitchen could eat and do his minutes, maybe not get as much ice time. But I feel like Edmonton, unless if they're really, really willing to loosen the reins even more on Bouchard, which they should, I'm worried.
I don't know what else you want to see to loosen the reins. I mean, that's just obnoxious. Okay, I'm going to stay ahead of this wing avalanche. And if I took Miro, I'll take John Carlson here. Extend the olive branch. Grab me that OV Carlson stack. Just perfect. Love it.
Yeah, I'm starting to get maybe too much Marty Necas late, and I probably could have waited in the other lobby. I need one more winger, one more defenseman, but I have Dahlin, I have the Chuck, Stutzel, Tuck. I think I'm pretty good. But would you have gone with like a Bo Horvat to go with Dobson rather than what I did there and just take Necas, or do you think like Noah Dobson's not really like completely tethered to anyone?
Yeah, I don't think you need to stack all that heavily. It's not like you need to take Horvat. I probably slightly prefer Horvat though over Necas. Push come to shove. It's more of a thing where I think Horvat plays with Matt Barzal, and we tried this last year and they were the same old boring Islanders, but man, it's really appetizing because we just simply haven't seen that from the Islanders because Barzal got hurt like the second Horvat joined the team. So I just sort of am enchanted a bit by their possible upside together versus Necas is a wonderful player. He's really good, but I just don't know that you can surround him with enough talent so that he like goes absolutely nuclear on a season the way that we know Horvat can when he's surrounded and used right. So
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, no, I agree. Also, I think I'm just higher on Necas, kind of the aging curve sort of debate where I think he's starting to come into his prime where Horvat could be leaving as well, but I don't know.
Sure.
What do you say?
I'm happy to continue the defenseman wars. For forever. Honestly, I've not listened to your Carolina breakdown, but I know if you search my name and Burns in the Discord, you can go back to a time where um, was it Mano again? Or are we just out in the Discord going at it, daily? Maybe, but basically in the Discord it came up when the athletic projections came out. Brent Burns was very low on their projections list, and we sort of talked about it and sort of the assumptions and whatnot that went into it. There's a few reasons where even though I'm relatively high on Brent Burns right now, I'm probably going to be dialing that back after examining some of the stats. So I'm not saying I'm a Burns denier or anything, but I'm certainly cooling on him. And I do think that John Carlson going in the 80 range is criminal. But that has nothing to do with Evan Bouchard. I have 20% John Carlson, 25% Bouchard.
Yeah.
So, love both those players and totally understand Carlson's a value, but I just don't think Bouchard is in the same ballpark as far as upside. I think he's ahead of that, just given what we've seen from him in small samples and projecting that forward, given his pedigree and the offense he's on.
Okay, so I'm on the clock in my ending very shortly first draft. Boy, the wingers they be flying off the shelves. Dahlin and Dobson, I think I'm just gonna hope they carry me early in the season. I'm gonna get my first Aaron Ekblad share. And hope that he returns and he can be in the mix. I'm going to draft a winger in the last round, which I kind of hate doing, but like I said, I started winger, goalie winger, I believe. No, defenseman winger. So I feel like I did pretty well there, and I maybe I've gone too far sometimes in these lobbies. Was just like taking. I mean, I have mini slow drafts going where I have like 0-6, 0-2s. So I don't mind in some of these fast drafts where the wingers are getting to say, all right, screw it, I'm going to get different than the other drafts I'm doing that I've already done a lot of drafts where I've absolutely gone way too far with the winger stuff. I guess when you do 150, do whatever you want is the theory there. What winger have I not drafted yet? That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to pick a winger I have not taken yet. That'll be fun. You're on the clock though.
I am. Yeah.
Make
I have.
I'll look.
I have Binnington queued up. Just debating the other selection here because this is a struggle. I'm on the struggle bus here. I think I'm just going to grab some Kempe. I don't love taking centers at ADP, but with Connor Bedard, I am fully aware that Bedard could have some struggles and some down weeks, and I don't really want to rely on 2 late round centers, even though I'm probably comfortable with that. So I'm sort of sacrificing a goalie, reaching to get a goalie in return for that bit of security. So that was my internal debate while I was on the clock there. And while you wrap this draft up.
Oh, boy. Yeah, last pick. I kind of wanted to get a little bit different. You know what? Maybe I'll take Capo. Haven't taken any yet. Former second overall
Stacked
pick.
with anyone?
No. Who am I going to take? I mean, I could take Tatar.
Oh wow! Some late news. Reacting to late news. I think
screw it. I'll take Tatar to go with Nertushkin. Why not? It's not the dumbest thing I've ever done in the world. I mean, this guy has rates. He does hit a little bit.
Yeah, I talked about this with Ross Colton, like the first week of our show, and it was when Colton signed his RFA deal or whatever. And Colton's a center on Underdog, so it's not that valuable. But the thing with Colorado is, yes, they have these elite players that are going to be on their first power play, but they don't have anything else. I mean, like they have nothing as far as depth is concerned, which is why guys like Jonathan Jewin are getting drafted, here. And it's like those guys are not fantasy relevant. But Thomas Tatar certainly is / could be. He's not necessarily a great shooter by any means, but he's a mucker. He can get you some goals. He'll pick up points. He's just a good offensive player and should play in the top 6 for that team. But maybe they try and give Jewin a chance or something, but I just don't really see him running with it.
Yeah.
So I think there's at least a good chance that Tatar, gets top 6 minutes there. So I like the pick. It's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah. I mean, and like, is there a snowball's chance that Helly gets power play run, do you think?
No. Well, top power play run. He'll be on the second power play, but
yeah,
I think it's more likely that Johansson gets top power play run, which is to say not that likely.
Okay. I'm gonna take Grubauer. I just don't want to miss on goalie any longer. I have Shesterkin, but I kind of want to grab one more guy. Winger is cooked. I only have Morrissey. Ruba correlates with Kreider a little bit. I think I just frankly like Werenski more, so I think I'm just going to take Werenski to go with Morrissey. So, and also I didn't mention this pick, but I got John Tavares at 97 or 20 spots after ADP to go with McDavid. So I may be done at center. I think I likely am, but I'm going to hold for now. Really happy with my 5 wingers I already have in Hyman, Caulfield, Kreider, Ehlers, and connecting from an upside perspective. Massive rate shooters. Really just not a lot of downside to any of them other than like some injury concerns, with Caulfield and Ehlers, but I'm not really worried about that. I also think there's at least a chance Konechny gets traded, and there's a lot of teams that could use them in a big way. So, even if he's in a good spot in Philadelphia, albeit on a bad team, he could be in an even better spot, like a Timo Meyer sort of we found last year. So we'll see what happens there. You never really know, but I know the after the whistle guys, which I guess if we're going to start giving them credit for the Dahlin rumor that, even 32 thoughts were saying like these guys know what they're talking about. They were also very high on like this guy's getting moved, and they are friends with Danny Briere. So I don't know. Just don't know.
Possible trade chatter. I think that's somewhat legitimate. It makes sense given their burn it to the ground type mentality over in Philly. All right. So
yeah, they're tearing it down.
I am 5 spots away. I am really sweating out this goalie avalanche. But there's a few teams in front of me with 2 goalies, so we'll see. To me, the goalie market really sort of falls off right after Karel Vejmelka. And so, ADP wise at least. And, there's some goalies here that still could be quote unquote starters, but we just don't know at this point which one to pick. So I'm sort of sweating that out, but it looks like I'll get at least one of the goalies I was gunning for. So that's good enough for me. And so, all right, I'm just going to wrap up goalie then. John Gibson and Elvis. I don't love either goalie, but again, I got really frozen out on goalie early. I sort of sacrificed.
Wait, could you please list off your goalies?
My goalies are Jordan Bennington, John Gibson, and Elvis Merzlikins. That's what happens when you take both Miro Heiskanen and John Carlson ahead of pick 100.
Yeah. No, I mean, you have a very it's funny, like looking at your team other than goalie, there are just so many peak performers on this roster. I mean, Bedard could be a guy late, especially a guy that I don't know how high he'll advance, but man, like if this guy starts catching fire when we get into the playoffs, he obviously has the skill. We just a very big unknown. Kempe, Robertson with Ov, Forsberg, Laine, Nertushkin. That sounds like quite a few goals to me. You have Heiskanen to go with Robertson. You have Ovi, Carlson. I mean, it's just like a lot of it makes sense. Good 2-man stacks, but then goalie, you got to combine like 55 wins there, but might be going high.
I'm ready to torch this team anyway. So just stay tuned. Just doing it for the content.
You're drafting Tom Wilson?
Well, I mean, you are right. I could torch my team doing that, but no, that is not what I have in mind.
And also, I don't always draft a third center, so we'll see. But some of these lobbies, I just get to the last pick, and it's like, I don't know. I probably should just take a winger. I don't know. I have done at least a few. I have not taken a third center, especially with McDavid's and Matthews teams, where I think we discussed it. Like Dreisaitl's, he's still draftable in the top four. Like he still has a peak week like almost no one else, but um I do think you kind of need a little bit more from center because of if the power play isn't clicking or whatever for a short stint, like he loses quite a bit of potential output in those weeks. So I'm back on the clock, 2-5, 2-2. As I mentioned, I will sadly, I'm not going to add to the Winnipeg stack anyways. I don't, yeah. This is about where I take Brock Besser normally, so maybe I'll queue him up. Could get defense done early. Goalie is completely cooked. So yeah, I'm gonna grab Brock Besser. Okay, froze. There he is. And man, don't think I have any like good correlations here. You know what? I'll take Vince Dunn. I'm very, very low on Vince Dunn. Yeah, I'm gonna take Vince Dunn. I don't have much. I just worry about the rates with him, but the point production is to the moon. And if those rates come up even a little bit, he could be a very, very useful player. And I think with Seattle, you get some good opportunity late in the round to get like a little correlation here or there. Yeah, so I like my team 2-6-3-2. I have Shesterkin though and Grubauer. So
when you draft on your desktop, and I know you're mostly a phone drafter, bro. You're a phone lineup builder, bro, too. Like I get it. You use this light mode?
No. I actually probably can now because I have a ring light. But it just looks like half my face is lit up. So what I need to do here, you know what? I'll show you really quick.
It doesn't change.
Okay, no, it's good.
I don't get it. This is not even changing.
It changes. Okay, hold on. I got wait. Hold on. Hold on. I have to do one thing here. You can still hear me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we got you.
Turn this. Turn off my background. So I have the ring light over here. And I want to move it here, but there's no room behind these monitors. I also want to figure out, okay, maybe if I could just set up this monitor to actually connect. But it's connected to work. They both are, but I have an HDMI, this one. But when I turn it on dark, it's so dark over here and so bright over here. I think it looks weird. And I'll turn it back.
Do you have two HDMI cords? Because you could just hook. Do you have two HDMI ports? I mean, in that laptop or no?
No, there's not two ports. There's not two ports.
Okay.
So
if
this is my
you got a
screen,
splitter,
as you can see behind me now.
Yeah.
So now I will turn back on my virtual background, whatever I want, but I like this one, which is also why I wore this Canucks jersey because it blended in well. And now it's for some reason blocking my microphone. But when I have it on dark mode, I feel like half my face is in the darkness. But when I have it on bright, it comes back out of the darkness.
I literally am not noticing anything, but sure. Fine by me.
Yeah. In the comments. You don't see this?
I made it to
I feel like I'm evil.
To the clock. Wings are very much picked over. I, believe it or not, have only 4 shares of Oliver Bjorkstrand. I'm going to rectify that, get me closer to the 8% Bjorkstrand that we all know that the Morningscape pod should just have Bjorkstrand. I mean, the Bjork god. And then I'll take Seth Jones to pair with Connor Bedard and wrap up my defense room. Meaning I still have a center spot and a wing spot to finish off this roster and get a 3-7-3-3 build, nice and tidy, my little safety blanket of a roster construction.
I don't know why my mic just for some reason I've added to the background, but I like it. Do you see me playing with the?
Yeah, it looks like your shoulder fell off.
Did anyone else have fun? That's fine.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't
everyone
know,
left
but
when
yeah,
everyone left the stream when you went off your audio for the 40th time.
I genuinely think for some reason it's not my headphones. For some reason, StreamYard decides that my headphones are no longer good enough because it's not even making the noise like they're dead. It just goes like bump and they kick off. And then
Interesting.
so maybe I just need to like plug them, like unplug them and plug them back in. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I was charging them before we started, and the headphones, both of them should have been at 100% in the headphone. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, I'm almost back on the clock. A couple more picks. I think I'm gonna record my Blackhawks after this. What's up next? I did Carolina. Yeah, Chicago.
Chicago's right, yeah,
Right?
or Columbus,
Yeah,
technically,
Chicago's
depending
right.
on how you're doing alphabetical
Oh,
order. CBJ
yeah.
versus.
No, I know. I already started with like the entire name because I did
Okay,
Carolina after Calgary because I was like, oh, that's correct, and then I was like, oh wait,
makes
well,
sense.
it is
Okay,
correct, but boy, I think every single Seattle player went cool.
yeah, I took
Just
Bjorkstrand. So
just as I predicted. Which yeah, so that leaves literally Tolvanen. I mean, I don't know. That feels whatever. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take. I think I'm gonna take Schmid for the 100th time, but whatever. And I'm gonna take whoever Mad Cat doesn't take. He started Leon Pedersen, so I gotta think he's not going center. He goes center. So I will grab the Duke. And I'll grab
okay,
Schmid.
never mind.
Oh, what? No, what?
I was
It didn't
going
let me
to
take
suggest
Schmid.
Eli Tolvanen. Eli Tolvanen remains on the board. Power play 1.
I literally just said I could take Tolvanen, but I might save him. Yeah, I might do it. Don't worry.
Oh,
Don't give everything
you're
away.
saving.
I wanted.
I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So,
Well, now he's gonna
I thought you were
go.
going to take a center. I mean,
It's okay. But yeah,
I could
I'm
take
going to be
Tolvanen.
overweight on
I have Bjorkstrand, his line mate, and potential power play mate. I could take Tolvanen.
Do whatever
I
you
was
want.
saying
It's free country. You could
spot.
steal all my players.
I could actually.
Yeah,
That'd
I
be a
could have
lot of
done
fun.
it, but
You steal all of our 101s. I steal all of your players.
I mean McKinnon. I mean not McKinnon. Holy crap! McDavid and Tavares is pretty freaking good for center. Like that's Tavares. I feel like at 76.7 is egregious. But I get it because of how these drafts go, and you know you're normally already locked up one of your centers, and he's just much more of a technicality. Tavares at 97, otherwise known as Connor McDavid pick number. That is egregious. Like I don't know if I'm ever going to get that again. So yeah, I might just say those are my two centers, and then I have Morrissey, Werenski, and Dunn. So basically I have Tavares, Werenski, Dunn, and then a mixture of Hyman, Caulfield, Kreider, Ehlers, Konechny, Besser, Duclair. Like I got a lot of good flex positions already. But I do worry about like Hyman's upside week to week, Caulfield's upside week to week. Like I feel like maybe I could just add that. But you're on the clock though. You talk through your pick. I'm whatever.
I am. So I am going to take alongside Patrick Laine, Adam Fantilli, the can't miss Bedard Fantilli rookie center build. Just hook it to my veins. And then I'm kind of just like whatever for this last pick. I'm just gonna grab Nino. I feel like Nino's a guy who I'm comfortable with in the last round. Just like when I need a winger, a guy who is very much standalone in that he's probably not going off only when Kyle Connor goes off or Mark Scheifele or something. Like he's just sort of like the guy who probably won't do much, but when he does, it's like mucking and banging home rebounds and whatnot. Just a decent rates player. So I'll take him uncorrelated versus something thinner. Like, I was looking at Luke Evangelista to go alongside Forsberg, or who are some of the other options I had up? TJ Oshie for this Washington stack, like things like that, but none of it really stands out to me. So I prefer Nino. But
I'm gonna look at the full board before I make my last pick.
And we are not reviewing teams
any thoughts
because
on
it's already 2 hours.
Yeah, we're good. All your teams are perfect except for mine, which is the best. Boy, this is what happens to me every time. I get so excited about my build, and I think I've done it. I put it together. I'm just going to draft that 8th winger, and then I look at a guy like Nazem Kadri. I'm just like,
oh, hold on. We have a contender for the best team in our lobby. Are you best team in the lobby for sure? B Crosstrek, 5 centers, 4 defense with Kel McCarr. You draft Kel McCarr, you gotta shore up that D spot. You draft Jack Hughes first round, you gotta shore up center.
Hellebuck, wingers.
Logan Thompson at wing. Artemi Panarin, Drake Batherson, Jamie Benn, Lawson Krause. That's it. You got to score 2 of those guys every single week. I mean, just a masterclass right there from our friend B Crosstrek. So thank you, B Crosstrek, for paying the rake in this draft.
Matt, Kadri or Tolvanen?
I would say Kadri, honestly, but I get wanting 2 centers and 8 wings. Man.
If it just wasn't Kadri, I feel like everyone else here I could justify not taking. But man, Kadri just feels like, how do you not just add him to that mix for? I don't even know if it went through because it always freezes when I take the last pick. We're not going to review team.
It did go through. You got Kadri.
Oh. Okay, cool. Another draft just finished as well for me. I don't think it's this. No, this is the last 2. Another slow draft in the books. So new exposures will be coming out. All right, we're gonna draft a Thursday, Sunday slate, right, Matt? Okay, now let's get out of here.
Yeah, I'm in. Just all in, baby. I'm all underdog now.
Close us out.
I drafted the. Oh boy! Wow! Oh my God! My face. That was huge. I drafted a Sunday, Monday slate because there was overlay and jammed a ton of autos and whatnot, and like 2.5x my entry fees, and somehow DJ with the same exact approach lost a ton of money. So that was very fun, and therefore I love Underdog.
I lost like $11. I lost $11.
Yeah, that's a ton of money when when each draft you put in is like worth 50% ROI. And you have like 54% Tony Pollard, and I had like 60%. Like it was almost impossible. I figured it out.
I figured out a way. Yeah, you know what that way was drafting a ton of Pollard and Aaron Rodgers, because everyone was taking quarterbacks, and I was like, I'll just default to Rodgers. I don't care. And Rodgers is like, my Achilles is. I had the roster. I had the roster if Rodgers stays healthy.
I'm just a better Sunday to Monday night primetime underdog fantasy slate drafted in you, DJ. You're just gonna have to admit it. All right, but thank you all for tuning in. Another great 2 hours of talking best puck with you all. Please do make sure you check out Drafters if you are looking to scratch an itch, get more equity down, and also support a site that, again, I think has a really strong and different approach than Underdog. I like their deeper rosters. I kind of like the smaller drafts. You're getting better players. But I think it's just a different game in general. So DJ, drop that link in the YouTube chat. I will drop that in the description of the podcast. And DJ put on the screen Underdog Fantasy promo code MSP if you want to draft alongside us next time. And a big thank you to the chat once again for stepping up when we had a brand new draft and we were able to start a draft within 10 minutes. It wasn't immediate, but we got there, and that's a huge kudos to you guys for tuning in and participating with us. We could not do it if you guys didn't show up for us on a weekly basis. So until then, check us out at Morningscape Pod on Twitter. I'm at Fake Moods. DJ's at DJ_Mitchell94. Sub to my newsletter, and that will do it. So see you all next Tuesday. Peace.